Welcome to Proverbs 31 Creatives. My name is Brianna Coleman. I'm so excited for this new chapter in my walk with the Lord. My goal with this podcast is to encourage other women to grow their creativity, entrepreneurship, finances, life, health, and most importantly, grow closer to Jesus. I'll be having conversations with guests with anointed women in faith and learning right along with you. Are you ready to start your journey to become the creative Proverbs 31 woman you've always wanted to be? All right, let's go. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Proverbs 31 Creatives. I'm your host, Brianna Coleman. I hope you guys loved and enjoyed this last episode where I did share my testimony. I received so many heartfelt messages and DMs and comments about how good the Lord is, and I could not agree more. That was really hard for me to share. I feel like that was, like I said on the episode, that was really raw and real. And to be honest with you, I felt so vulnerable with sharing all of that. There's some of the details that I hadn't even really told my family. So I feel like it was a big step. Of course, I had my people that walked with me through those seasons. But a good majority of it, that was really the first time that I have said it publicly. So that was a really big deal, at least for me. So I really greatly appreciate all the love and support and the amens and the hallelujahs. So I really appreciate that. But one thing I definitely wanted to share with you, as I was editing that episode, something that I completely, probably out of embarrassment, but something that I completely forgot about that my mom had shared with me. She called me actually while I was in the middle of editing, and she's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I told her I was editing, and I said I was sharing my testimony. She very quickly humbled me when she reminded me of when I accidentally sent a music festival outfit to her house. And I lived in Florida and she lived in Ohio. I don't know. It was probably the Lord, to be honest with you, because I have no idea how it even got sent to her place in the first place. I don't know if it autofilled. I don't know if I just had a moment that was not the smartest. I have no idea how it got sent to her place in Ohio when I lived in Florida. But I was ordering outfits for this music festival that I was going to. And since it was in Florida, obviously it's going to be sweltering hot outside. So I was trying to find like cute bikini tops and one-piece bathing suits and those types of outfits for this music festival. I found this Instagram shop that was selling these sequenced bikini tops, and it was like a blue-green. The sequence was beautiful. Would I wear it now? No, I wouldn't. But the sequence pattern was really pretty. So number one, my first strike was I accidentally sent it to my mom's house. But then the company did not help me out at all because they sent me the wrong item. And my mom to this day does not believe that this is exactly what happened, because it is. And I will stand on this until my dying day that this is what happened, that they sent me the wrong item. They sent me the same pattern of that blue-green sequence, but they sent me this like cutout bodysuit looking thing, and it's not what I ordered. I did order the bikini top. So it just made matters a lot worse when this sequenced cutout bodysuit thing showed up to my mom's door. And so she played it off so good. She didn't say anything, that it arrived, nothing. So it shows up at her door. And then a couple days later, I actually was coming into town because I was on summer break from college, and I just was, trying to come home and see family and things like that, spend some time up here with friends, all that kind of good stuff. So when I come up here, I'm in the spare bedroom. She comes around the corner with this bodysuit looking thing over her clothes, and she's like, "Oh, do you like what I'm wearing?" I would have loved to see my face. My face was, I'm sure, priceless. I probably looked like a deer in the headlights, like, oh my gosh, like, how did this even get here? So it was a very interesting situation. So it has not always been oversized graphic tees and sweatshirts and sundresses and all those kind of things that I wear now, because my style has definitely changed from before before Jesus and after Jesus. So I thought that was really funny, and we would all get a chuckle out of my embarrassment. So thought I would share that. But I really hope that my testimony was able to encourage somebody. But if you haven't heard it yet, you can go back to the previous episode. I titled it "The Moment I Gave Up Control and Found True Freedom in Jesus," because I felt like that was such a good summary of my story. And that's actually going to go into today's episode of, I wanted to touch on, and this was the part that I got the most amount of comments on, the most amount of text messages and things like that, is because of my surrender letter. That part of my testimony it was obviously the biggest part of my testimony. It was me saying, Lord, you can have it all. I give up my control, right? That letter I wrote was so personal, and I wrote it as an act of faith, saying, God, like, my life is no longer my own. My life is yours. And that level of faith is not overnight. Like I said in that episode, it is something that is a day-to-day surrender. It's not a destination, it's a journey. After the Lord started working with me and showing me what it would look like to start this podcast, He truly started showing me what this would look like to trust Him in every single area of my life, and walked me through trusting Him on a deeper level and what it looks like to truly yield to the Father. And I know my fellow control freaks, just when you heard me say yield, you're like, oh my gosh, yield. What does that mean? It means I have to not touch anything and just take the hands off the wheel and let the Lord handle this. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And it is, like I said, it's a day-to-day journey. It is one step at a time. I even put this in my wedding vows. 50 years of marriage does not happen all at once. It happens one day at a time. And that's how I honestly started to look at my relationship with the Lord, is I'm going to love you 100% today. And I'm going to trust you 100% today. And I feel like in my mind, especially when I was just starting out with trusting the Lord, that's how I took it, was bite-sized pieces. And Lord, I'm going to trust you today. And wake up and say that every single day. Spend time with the Lord and tell Him, Lord, I give you today. Lord, I trust you today. And the Lord spoke this to me back in February. And yes, if you're watching on YouTube, I'm wearing my glasses today. I hope you like them. They are brand new. I got them at Warby Parker. Shout out Warby Parker. This is not sponsored, but I would love a sponsorship. I love the oversized turtle shell glasses, so I got a pair. But I do have my notes in front of me today because we are going to be reading some Bible, so I'm very excited. And I want to read verbatim how the Lord speaks to me. And so if you see me looking down, I am looking at my notes. But He said this to me very plainly back, I want to say it was like March or April. Whatever the Lord is calling you to is going to crush you. But just like olives, fresh oil will spring forth. And I hope this is encouraging to somebody today. When I say crush, I mean it's going to be costly. When I say costly, I mean your ego, your pride, your self-reliance, relying on yourself, your poor attitude, your mindset, and you might not be able to get to stay in your zone of comfort. And that for me was where I'm like, oh my gosh, Lord, like this is going to be all you right now, because my zone of comfort is staying quiet. It's not speaking. It's not saying what I truly want to say. It's honestly just keeping my mouth shut and letting everybody else talk, and I just sit back and listen. That's my zone of comfort, but that's not what the Lord is calling me to do. We see in Esther chapter 4 that she can no longer stay in her place of comfort. She has a decision to make. She could stay in the palace and sit there and be pretty, or she could surrender to what the Lord has called her to do. The Lord put her in that place of power for a reason. She could get uncomfortable by being the voice for the Lord's people, or she could sit back and not fulfill the plan the Lord had for her. Whatever she chose was going to be costly. The process to even get her to the throne was costly. It was not comfortable. Her surrender and her yes to the Lord honored that. I'm actually going to read Esther 4:14 because I feel like this is for somebody. For if you remain completely silent at this time, relief and deliverance will arise for the Jews from another place, but you and your father's household will perish. Yet who knows whether you have come to the kingdom for such a time as this? I believe right now more than ever, we are in a time that our obedience, our relying on the Lord, our surrender is going to be needed now more than ever. So what does it look like to completely surrender to the Lord in our daily lives? Have you laid down your Isaac? Have you laid down your alabaster box to him? In Luke 7, a woman spends a year's wages for this fragrant oil and breaks it over Jesus's feet, which, sidebar, if you have not watched The Chosen, I love that show. There's been so many moments where I am just weeping while I'm watching it. And this was one of them in season 4 that they just did because they just finished filming season 5. Yes, I'm that up to date with The Chosen. But if you watch season 4, I think it was the finale episode. So not to spoil it for anybody, but it was just so good. And you can visibly see this play out. And it just puts a whole nother perspective on this story of how this woman spent a year's wages and breaks that oil over Jesus's feet. Like, imagine the financial aspect of this, because I'm telling you right now, I don't know about you, but I personally do not have a year's wages just lying around. But I'm telling you right now, if Jesus was standing right in front of me, I would empty my bank account to do the same thing. And she did not care because she was honoring the Lord. She broke that oil over his feet and washed his feet with her tears. Just think about that level of honoring the Lord. In Genesis 22, the Lord tells Abraham to go and sacrifice his only son on the mountain, which obviously this is a foreshadowing to Jesus dying on the cross. Can you imagine that? I don't have kids yet, but I feel like that would be one of the hardest things for me to actually listen and obey the Lord on. But Abraham did it without even a question because he trusts the Lord that much. He was 100 years old when he was given Isaac, and he knew that Isaac was the Lord's anyway. So without hesitation, he said, "Yes, Lord, I'll obey. I trust you." And I am going to be reading Genesis 22. Again, I am in the New King James Version. So I'm going to be reading verses 1 through 19. Now it came to pass after these things that God tested Abraham and said to him, "Abraham." He said, "Here I am." Then he said, "Take now your son, your only son Isaac, whom you love, and go to the land of Moriah, and offer him there as a burnt offering on one of the mountains of which I shall tell you." So Abraham rose early in the morning and saddled his donkey and took 2 of his young men with him and Isaac his son. And he split the wood for the burnt offering and arose and went to the place of which God had told him. Then on the 3rd day, Abraham lifted his eyes and saw the place afar. And Abraham said to his young men, "Stay here with the donkey. The lad and I will go yonder and worship, and we will come back to you." So Abraham took the wood of the burnt offering and laid it on Isaac his son, and he took the fire in his hand and a knife, and the 2 of them went together. But Isaac spoke to Abraham his father and said, "My father." And he said, "Here I am, son." And then he said, "Look, the fire and the wood, but where is the lamb for a burnt offering?" And Abraham said, "My son, God will provide for himself the lamb for a burnt offering." So the 2 of them went together. Then they came to the place of which God had told them. And Abraham built an altar there and placed the wood in order, and he bound Isaac his son and laid him on the altar upon the wood. And Abraham stretched out his hand and took out the knife to slay his son. But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven and said, "Abraham, Abraham." So he said, "Here I am." And he said, "Do not lay your hand on the lad or do anything to him. For now I know that you fear God, since you have not withheld your son, your only son, from me." Then Abraham lifted his eyes and looked, and there behind him was a ram caught in a thicket by its thorns. So Abraham went and took the ram and offered it up for a burnt offering instead of his son. And Abraham called the name of the place, "The Lord will provide," as it is to this day. "In the mount of the Lord it shall be provided." Then the angel of the Lord called to Abraham a second time out of heaven and said, "By myself I have sworn, says the Lord, because you have done this thing and have not withheld your son, your only son. Blessing I will bless you, and by multiplying I will multiply your descendants as the stars of the heaven and as the sand which is on the seashore. And your descendants shall possess the gate of their enemies. In your seed all of the nations of the earth shall be blessed, because you have obeyed my voice." So Abraham returned to his young men, and they arose and went together to Beersheba, and Abraham dwelt at Beersheba. So after I read this, the Lord spoke to me very clearly and said, it's not about what you cast at his feet, but it's what are you withholding from him? Like I just said, I kind of got ahead of myself with my notes, but Abraham yielded to the Lord, and he was 100. I want to make sure I got that right. He was 100 when he was given Isaac, his son. He waited so long for that promise. I feel like sometimes we don't even want to wait 5 minutes for anything. I mean, we have 2-day shipping, we have fast food, we have all these different things. And can you imagine waiting 100 years for something? But Abraham knew he had to surrender to the Lord. God gave him Isaac in the first place. 100% of Abraham trusted the Lord. And he knew that the Lord was going to provide somehow, even if it's not exactly what we think. And I feel like this is for somebody. The Lord may not provide for you the way that you think it's going to happen. It may happen completely different. I know for me, when I was in the thick of in my debt, in my financial situation, I thought maybe that I was going to get a raise, that I was going to get a new job, which I did get a new job. And I did make a little bit more money, but it wasn't much more, to be honest with you. But the Lord provided for me by opening up the door to allow me and my husband to stay with family for 9 months. And that's how I paid off almost $20,000 worth of debt. So the Lord may not provide for you the way that you think it's going to happen. But when you surrender to Him and you say, "Yes, Lord," that's when He's going to honor that. And that's when He's going to show up. Regardless of what was about to happen to Isaac, Abraham knew that the Lord had a plan. And that is such a safety net in knowing that the Lord is always watching out. He knows our future, He knows our past, and He knows our present. He has a plan for our life. And when we know that and understand that, that's when trusting Him is a lot easier. When you are in true covenant with the Lord, it truly is like a marriage. When you trust Him fully, it truly is like a marriage. It's you become one. And I did not know what becoming one flesh. You always hear this, at least during Christian weddings, is that you become one flesh. And I did not know what that meant until my husband and I, we've been married for almost 2 years. It's coming up on 2 years rather quickly. But I did not know what that meant until my husband of almost 2 years started completing my sentences for me. When we are literally the same person sometimes. We're thinking the same thing sometimes. We'll say the same thing at the same time sometimes. And I can only imagine what it's like when you've been married 25, 30, 40, 50 years. That person is another part of you. And actually, even in a standard modern today wedding, we see a lot of similarities with the bride of Christ and the Lord and what that looks like. Fully yielding to the Lord is the same way a wife submits to her husband. The way that Abraham said, "Yes, Lord, I trust you. I fully surrender to this. I know you have a plan." That was him saying, "Till death do us part." When you say, "Till death do us part," when you are fully yielded and fully submitted to the Lord, that's when the fullness of your personal relationship with Jesus will enter in. Until then, I hate to say it, but it's optional. And that's where the spirit of religion likes to reside. It's optional to go to church. It's optional to read our word. It's optional to worship Him. I only worship him on Sundays. True covenant, true surrender, true yielding to him, and true worship is a worship that is day in and day out, and truly just enjoying the presence of the Lord. In my personal life, my Isaac was dying to myself and the self-reliancy and my ego. The quicker you die to your flesh is the quicker you'll fully live in the Lord. If you're in business, what does that look like to lay down your business to the Lord? If you're an entrepreneur, are you fully yielded to the Lord, or are you working out of self-reliancy and your own strength? This is a creatives podcast. I mean, are you fully surrendered to him in your own craft? Is the Lord calling you to do something with your talents and abilities that he's given you? Are you listening to him? Are you saying, Lord, that is so scary, I'm not going to do that? Or are you saying, Lord, I have no idea what I'm doing, but I honor you with this talent that you gave me, and I'm listening to your instruction and I will be obedient? To be honest with you, my surrender, I have honest conversations like I'm talking to my sister in the car. That's the way that I talk to the Lord. It's not some fancy prayer. It's not anything that is out of the ordinary. It honestly is just, Lord, I need you right now. Speak through me. I need your peace. I need your guidance. I need your strength. Lord, give me creative downloads. Give me fresh vision. Spending that time with the Lord in worship and reading your Bible first thing in the morning. Ask him to guide your day. Pray that he would direct your steps. Ask him for fresh vision and understanding and guidance. It honestly reminds me in Matthew chapter 14 when the little boy had 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And obviously, that's not a lot, and most definitely not going to feed 5,000 people, right? But the Lord took the little that the boy had that he had packed, that his mom most likely packed him for lunch, and used it to feed 5,000 people. When we give our talents and abilities back to the Lord that he has blessed us with, there is nothing that the Lord cannot do. Working out of my own strength left me chronically fatigued, financially broke, stressed out, all the things. But working in his strength, I have been able to accomplish in more in such a short amount of time because I'm in his will. I'm being obedient for what he has for me. Supernatural favor of doors that I could never have opened up by myself have swung wide open. But then in the same time, doors that I thought would be open slammed right in my face. Some of those I know why they slammed shut. Others, I have no idea why they slammed shut. A couple of them, I thank God they slammed shut because it was him protecting me. Others, I may never know why they slammed shut until I get to heaven one day. And the Lord actually convicted me of this here recently is I used to complain that I needed a bigger office. So you guys, if you're watching on YouTube, you can see this is my office. I have my whiteboard. I have my desk here and I have a desk over here, like an L-shaped. I just put 2 desks together, L-shaped desk, right? And a lamp over here. But recently, the Lord convicted me. I was complaining that I needed a bigger office. To be honest with you, I don't need a bigger office. I just was having a day and was moving stuff around and trying to get organized. And so I said, oh, I think I need a bigger office, yada, yada, whatever. But then the Lord quickly convicted me because he reminded me that I actually never even used to have an office. When my husband and I lived with our family, I had a creaky, shaky desk that was shoved in the corner by our bed frame because we obviously just slept in the spare bedroom and we had our 1,000 square foot apartment shoved in that one bedroom as well as a storage unit down the street. So we had our stuff what felt like everywhere, right? So I used the very little space that I had. I bought a desk from Target and it shook and it creaked, and every time I typed on it the desk shook and creaked and probably needed some WD-40 that I just never got around to putting in there. But that's where my business started, and that's where I paid off all my debt. That's where I legally founded my business. That's where I got the idea. That's where I started putting my business plan together. I created my business cards. All these different things were created in that corner of a bedroom. Now, fast forward, I haven't even hit my year in business with social media management. My 1 year legally is October. Of course, yes, I've been doing this for many years, but just not formally, officially, all that kind of stuff. But legally, my business is a year old in October, and I just hired my first part-time assistant. I did not think that I would do that until maybe my 2-year mark, and the Lord blessed me enough to be able to do that, and so I can grow and handle the podcast and all these different things. And I genuinely did not think that I was going to make that transition until maybe my 2-year mark. So it's wild to me how, if you are in the Lord's will, how fast and accelerated things can feel sometimes. As of right now, as this podcast is being aired and recorded and things like that, I do not have a business coach. Eventually, yes, I probably, when things get down the road and my clients get bigger, my clientele gets bigger, all those different things, yes, I may bring on a business coach. That's just a wise decision in business anyway. But right now, in 2024, in August of 2024, I don't have a business coach. But the Lord is my business coach. Every morning, I thank Him for what He's done. I thank Him for where I've been and where things are going. And I started praying this one prayer January of 2024. And it truly has changed so many different things for me. And I just ask for fourfold alignment. I ask, I pray, and I say, God, thank you for today. I'm so grateful. Thank you for everything you've done. Lord, right now I ask for fourfold alignment. Let me be at the right place, at the right time, with the right people, doing the right thing. In that full surrender, that fourfold alignment, I'm telling you, the Lord has opened doors and put people into my life that I don't know if I would have ever come into contact with. These areas cover a lot of ground. This is me surrendering to the Lord my day, my business, my creative decisions. Lord, put me in the right place at the right time with the right people doing the right things. But one thing I will say is do not pray that prayer unless you truly, truly mean it, because the Lord shakes and shifts things rather quickly. At least I've seen that in my own life. I've seen it in other people's lives that have prayed that. And it is like a spine at a chiropractor. I mean, everything just shifts and aligns the way that the Lord wants and needs it to be. If this says anything, I did not even know how to post a podcast on Spotify and Apple until 9:30 the night before my podcast went live. I'm like, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing. Show me what to do. And within an hour, I was able to get everything uploaded and ready to go and out by the time that I said I was going to have it out. So that's the kind of conversation, at least, that I'm having with the Lord sometimes. That's genuinely what it looks like. Like, God, I have no idea what I'm doing. Or, Lord, I need a fresh creative strategy for my client. Or, Lord, show me who I need to be talking to today. Show me what that looks like for my business. Show me what sermon I need to listen to so I can grow more in you, Lord. These are all basically the types of things that it's an ongoing conversation that the Lord and I have. The book of Jeremiah is such a great book. There's so much prophecy and theology and so much we can pull from that. I don't believe it's a book that you can read at surface level. Like, you have to actually read it and study it and take notes and meditate on it and just listen to the way that the Lord speaks through it. But specifically, Jeremiah 18 is a great chapter for this topic that we're talking about today. The Lord tells Jeremiah in Jeremiah 18 to quickly go down to the potter's house, and there I will speak to you. Specifically, Jeremiah 18:5 and 6. O house of Israel, can I not do with you as the potter? Look, as the clay is in the potter's hands, so are you in my hand. That lump of clay is completely yielded to the hands of the potter. It can turn into whatever the potter wants to make out of it. It can be a beautiful bowl. It can be a flower vase. It can be anything, a sculpture. It can be anything that the potter wants it to be, right? And again, I don't know who this episode is for, but The idea of taking your hands off a situation can feel completely daunting, whether that's your business, whether that's your daily life, whether it's a situation that you're currently going through. I'm just here to encourage you to take your hands off of the wheel and let the Lord be in control. If you watch pottery being made, it's so beautiful. It's one person, it's relatively quiet, it's messy, but it's creative and it's a process and it's beautiful. The more hands that is on the lump of clay, the harder it is to work with. The longer it's going to take for that lump of clay to turn into something beautiful. The harder it is for it to form into the art that it's supposed to be. Sometimes life can feel like you are spinning. I know for me, I have felt like that sometimes. I'm like, I don't know what switch got turned on, but everything around me, my life feels so chaotic right now. Sometimes life can feel like you are spinning. I mean, even in my surrender letter, I said verbatim, it feels like I'm on a carousel spinning that won't stop. But what's so amazing is that the Lord can use those moments as breakthrough seasons for you. It can feel like you are spinning on that potter's wheel. It can feel like utter chaos. But that's when the Lord says, that's exactly where I want you. Because you're not controlling anything. You're fully yielded. You don't know which way is up or down. God uses those seasons to shape you into what He needs you to be. Someone very close to me in my life actually wrote a surrender letter for her business and said, and I'm going to read it, but she wrote down her surrender letter for her business and career after I told her about my testimony, how I wrote a surrender letter giving everything to the Lord. In the letter, this is what she put in quotation marks, Lord, help me align my business to your plan so I can spend more time with you in the plans you have for me. And she felt in that moment, the Lord told her to scratch out the words, help me. So the first part, instead of saying, help me align my business, it just says, Lord, align my business. Within 24 hours, her assistant of 7 years left. Within 3 months, she changed companies after an incredible opportunity came into her life that literally came out of nowhere. And this opportunity would allow her to not have to work 50 hours a week, and so that she can be obedient and spend more time with the Lord doing what He needs her to do. I encourage you to spend time with the Lord. I encourage you to write your surrender letter. Just spend time with Him and get a piece of paper, get a pencil, get a pen, whatever you want, and write down your surrender letter. Any area of your life that is not surrendered to Him, and watch Him completely turn it around. Start praying and ask Him what He would have you write down, because He will show you. He'll show you an area that maybe you didn't even think of, you haven't thought about for years. Maybe it's bad habits you need to let go of. Maybe it's your business. Maybe it's creative ideas that you've never acted on. He wants every area of your life. I hope this blessed you today. I'll be praying for you this week. Have a great rest of your week. The best is yet to come.